I'm Goyo.
And I'm Yonko. And welcome to the
Goyo
Bowling Drumming Channel. In the last video, I showed you how to showed you the anatomy of a drum, how to hit the drum, and gave you some brief explanations. I talked to you just briefly. I mentioned the Indian drumming language. If you really want to learn more, go and look it up. There's an entire book on it. Basically what it consists of is 16 different sounds that you can make vocally that translate to sounds made on the drum. We're only going to use doom, tech, and ka. Those are your three basics. The idea that I want to instill in you is the idea that if you can say it, you can play it. It might not work for everybody, it always worked for me. If I can say, doom, teka, teka, doom, tech, teka, if I can say it, I can play it on the drum. We are going to start off with this tutorial video. We want to show you how to play a beat called
Belladi. No, not Belladi, Moss Moody. No, that's too much. We're going to start off with Belladi, and depending on how this video goes, we'll move into Moss Moody, if you're comfortable with that. Before we move on to anything, there's a term you should know called tempo. Basically, this is the speed at which you're playing. You shouldn't be playing drums in the first place if you don't understand that, like with any instrument, you've got to play to a tempo. In other words, you've got to play at a certain speed. If Yonko's playing a drum beat at a certain speed and I'm playing a lot faster than him, then obviously it's going to sound terrible. So tempo is something that you should become very familiar with. Time signatures is something that you'll also might want to do some research on, but we won't touch on that in this tutorial today.
As you were saying about tempo, a lot of people, if you're playing an individual instrument, will use a metronome because it will keep tempo for you. If you really need to use one, It'll help you. You can probably find a metronome online.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like a web app or something you can use. If you're going to be playing a beat, practicing by yourself, you want some way to keep track of how fast you're playing. And a metronome is a great tool for that.
And eventually, remember, as a drummer, your main goal is to become a human metronome. It's what a drummer typically does. They hold the tempo for all of the other instruments. Eventually, it'll just become ingrained in your mind.
Yeah, let's start out by counting out Belladi. A good way to practice a beat is by counting it out. And to count it out means to count the time signature as you're playing it. So, for example, if we were going to play Belladi, which is if Yonko was going to play Belladi, I would count it out like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's pretty much how counting it out works. It also makes it a lot easier when you're counting it out in order to learn new beats.
And again, I can reference that back to saying it out and playing it. Saying it and playing it doesn't necessarily help you with tempo. It would just help you remember the beats themselves. For this particular beat, Belladi, it's always going to be doom, doom, teka, teka, doom, teka, tek.
So we're going to play it with you very slowly to kind of give you something to work from. For the first few, we'll count it out and then we'll just kind of continue to play, and hopefully you can follow along with us. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. I forgot to count. I'm gonna let Yonko play while I count.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. For those of you that read sheet music, there are a lot of good examples online on how to play that. There obviously are going to be many different variations on how exactly you play it, simpler and more complex versions. You can get the general idea.
This particular version we're using is specifically because this is what one of the beats is for the Kansas City Renaissance Festival Romani group that we both originated from.
Yeah, they use that beat notoriously. So many
flashbacks.
So many flashbacks.
Good people, the louder you are, the harder we dance!
That'll be all for this video. If you felt we weren't descriptive enough, or if you have a question about how something works, feel free to say it in the comments.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah,
like the video.
Do that subscribe.
Share it with every single person you ever met ever.
Everyone.
Talking to you, Bobby.
Oh.